Today we'll be discussing political theory, meaning and approaches, and today's topic is post behavioralism. We will analyze past year questions from this topic and also see some related concepts. If you see PYQs from post behavioralism, two questions have been asked, one in 23 and one in 2016, a 15 marker and a 10 marker respectively. Now you see the first question is an analytical question and the other one is a straightforward question. The trend is similar to what was seen in behavioralism. What you have to do is prepare a model answer for it, which suffice the need of a 10 to 20 marker, and you can answer a straightforward question from this also as an analytical question. So let's begin. Before we look at post behavioralism, let us understand behavioralism and other related concepts. So if you see in political theory, the trend has been this. First there were traditional approaches, then behavioralism, and then post behavioralism. Traditional approaches were mostly philosophical, historical, and legal institutional. They were normative and prescriptive in nature, and they focused on political institutions or formal structures that were present. However, after World War II, it was realized that a change needs to be made. There were three major reasons for emergence of behavioralism. One, World War II itself. A major war of this scale happened, and political theorists could not predict or even give a sign of something like this could happening. Second was that after the World War, there were conferences held across US and Europe for reconstruction of Europe. And in these conferences, political theorists were not invited because it was thought at that time or assumed that political theorists do not have much to contribute in this discourse. Other disciplines like sociological or psychological or economists, they were part of these conferences. And thirdly, the wave of decolonization that happened. So, newly independent countries emerged, and you needed new methodology, new tools to study the political institutions or political behavior or the political conditions of these countries. So, under behavioralism, you have approaches like system analysis or structural functional approach. The key features of behavioralism is that it is an empirical approach. It studies data, it is descriptive, that is, it describes what is actually happening. It focuses on political actors, political behaviors, and political processes. That is, it is a break from traditional in terms of traditional would look at only formal structures or formal institutions, but behavioralism focused on political actors and how they are behaving. And it is an interdisciplinary or course disciplinary approach. That is, it borrowed from sociology, it borrowed from economy, it borrowed from psychology, and borrowed, I mean, the methodology of research. Moving on, behavioralism versus post behavioralism. As seen, behavioralism was empirical and descriptive, and its emphasis is on being value neutral and scientific rigor in research. They wanted to make political science as a pure science that is solely based on data, and it can study what is actually happening, the actual political processes or actual political behavior of political actors, and based on it make predictions of what could happen in future. It would study power holders, power seekers, or voters. This is very important if you see comparative politics. Lot of development in the discipline of comparative politics happened under behavioralism. They wanted to turn political science as a policy science, that it actually tells or predicts policies that are going to be formulated or that can be formulated based on studying the current or the reality of the time. In this, one of the important aspects is David Easton. He has given 8 tenets that are these are the 8 key features that must be followed for any theory of political science. And topics of concern In behavioralism, the topics that were studied was example study of pressure groups, interest groups, or how voters vote, social movement, etc. It focused on the process of decision making. As seen from above, behavioralism was status quoist, means it did not want to change anything, it did not prescribe anything uh, that should be done. The only focus is what is, and based on what is, what could possibly happen. Now, if you see this against post behavioralism, in post behavioralism, first you look at the context. Why did it emerge? One, the situation changed. There were so many issues that came up in 1960s and 70s, such as nuclear bomb threat. There were a nuclear arm race happening. Then there was Vietnam War. New social movements came up. Post-colonial theorists started writing against Eurocentrism. So all these led to a build-up in political science or political theory, to be particular, that a change is needed in our theories, in how we are perceiving the reality, so that we not only describe what is happening, but we also prescribe what should happen. We political science cannot sit on a fence and be value neutral. So again, the emphasis was laid on being normative. One thing that is important to note here is that it is not a break from behavioralism, rather, it is building up on the tradition of behavioralism. That empirical or empiricism would be part of this. And with empiricism, you will study, you will collect data, but you will also look at it what should happen rather than just looking at what is happening. Again, the focus was shifted on political institutions, formal structures, and political process. But here again, it's a building on foundation of behavioralism. Political processes were studied, and on top of that, political institutions also began to be studied. Macro level analysis. Even behavioralism, if it was studying process of decision making, post behavioralism laid emphasis on content of decision, that it is just not important to see how decisions are being made, but also to look at the quality of decision that is being made and the values that are being privileged in that decision making process. One of the important thing about post behavioralism was it laid emphasis on focus on action and social change, that it is just not enough that political science study what is happening, but they also should focus on how to change. If you remember Marx's quote, that the job of philosophers is not only to study what is happening, but also to change the world or reshape the world. So that was what was aimed by post behavioralism. Now, looking at model answer and what should be included in that. Definition of post behavioralism, it is a very generic definition that you can use in your straightforward and analytical answers. Post behavioralism emerged in the late 1960s. It is a critique of behavioralism aiming to reintegrate. This is a key term, reintegrate. Most of the students end up writing introduced, but that is not correct. The correct term is reintegrate normative concerns, values, and social responsibility into political science while maintaining empirical rigor. So, this is a complete definition of what is post behavioralism. One of the PYQ was on credo of relevance. Now, look at what is credo of relevance. It emphasizes that political science should be socially relevant, again, a key term, addressing real world issues and contributing to meaningful social change, again, a key term. It emerged as a critique of the empirical detachment of behavioralism. Key terms: relevance and action, value laden inquiry, normative concerns, action science. If behavioralism wanted political science to be a policy science, post behavioralism wanted it to be a action science, that you write theories not only describing or suggesting policies, but you also focus on what should be, values should be imbibed in the policies, or what decision making should happen, which values should be prioritized. Societal needs, practical knowledge, social justice, incremental solutions. Again, a key term. Key features: relevance. It advocates for addressing pressing social issues like justice, equality, poverty, and environmental challenges. Engage with real world problems rather than being detached. Relevance is an important feature of post behavioralism, that what you are studying should be relevant to the current problems that the world is facing, or humanity is facing, or as a state or a society is facing. And you should not only study that problem but also prescribe some solutions or some values that will help overcome. So relevance plus action. Critique of behavioralism. It Another feature of post behavioralism is that emerged as a critique of behavioralism, especially about the neglect of normative dimensions and overemphasis on empirical detachment and value neutrality. What happened in behavioralism was that too much emphasis was laid on methodology, that how research should follow scientific rigor and data collection to formulate theories, making political science a pure science. But that is not the aim of a political theory or a political theorist. The aim is to make political science an applied science, that you have the data, you have the scientific rigor, but you also apply the theory that you formulate in real world to bring about social change. Action science. Political science should not only explain phenomena but also guide policy and promote positive social change. Reflects the socio-political movements of the 1960s. Very important. Aligning academic inquiry with societal progress. Charles Lindblom's muddling through is an important concept, emphasizes practical incremental solutions. How to bring about change, that is, incremental solutions. Key thinkers and quotes. David Easton, even though he is there in behavioralism also, but he is also one of the greatest proponents of behavioralism, post behavioralism. Political science must become relevant to the urgent issues of society, should not take refuge in their ivory towers, and take the responsibility to reshape the society. Robert Dahl. Post behavioralism brings back moral and ethical questions into discourse. Charles E. Lindblom advocated practical incremental solutions through muddling through. Works to quote. So if you see in 1960s and 70s, again there was a revival in normative theory, with John Rawls just writing Justice as Fairness, Robert Nozick writing Anarchy, State and Utopia, C. Wright Mills also Sociological Imagination. So again, a normativism became a part of political theory, and you can see in these works. Critics and limitations. It is a criticism of behavioralism, and but there are challenges for post behavioralism. Balancing empirical rigor with normative engagement, practical application across diverse political context. This must be your penultimate paragraph. In penultimate paragraph means that the second last para of your answer. If the question is on post behavioralism, its significance, or the unless the question is directly asking for challenges, this must come as your second last paragraph. Significance of post behavioralism combines empirical methods with normative inquiry, aligns political science with societal concerns, bridges the gap between explaining and transforming political phenomena. This can be your conclusion. for post behavioralism to if the question is straightforward or analytical in terms of analyzing post behavioralism. Reflects socio-political movements advocating social justice and relevance. So that is all. The significance of post behavioralism must come as your conclusion in the model answer. If the answer is straightforward or a direct question on post behavioralism, or it talks about examining post behavioralism, analyzing post behavioralism, and this is the key point in that. So that is all for today. Thank you.